So today I'm working on testing this 5.7 Chevy Fuel Injector. This is called the Spider injector system because it sort of looks like an 8-legged spider. This one's out of a 98 C2500. And the way I'm going to test it, I'm going to drive pressurized fuel in this line here. This is the return line. There's an internal regulator that seems to bypass the fuel if it exceeds 60 psi. So I'll zoom in and let you have a look here what it looks like. So that's the injector, and there's the connector for it, and the hard line runs up in here to, this is just a manifold. Looks like I've got a slight leak. I'll have to change the O-rings. It's puddling up there. This is where the distributor rides up through. I've got it capped off right now. And that's what it looks like connecting up my, you can see these sets of pins there. Those are the injector connectors. And that's what it looks like, the connectors I'm using. And that's a look at the device I'm using to fire the injectors. This is the EGR manifold, I suppose you could call it. This is the flange where you'd mount it. This is the exhaust gas coming in. It's a bypass. This is a temperature sensor. Thermostat's right up under here. There's a plastic manifold that goes, or a plastic cover that goes on top of this and seals to this surface. And there's also an O-ring here that's not on there now, but there's an O-ring there that seals the air. And this is some sort of diaphragm regulator vented to the inside there. And these fuel rails here, I just made those from some brass tubing, and just for this temporary test. And then here's my air regulator, where I'm regulating the air down to about 50. It goes up and pressurizes the fuel that's still in the line here. So I'll momentarily bypass it just to make sure that I get fuel bypassed. And then I've also learned that when I pressurize this, I need to purge all these lines. So I'm going to go through and cycle every one of these injectors once through, just to make sure that I've got all the air out of the line and the fuel is all the way up to the injector before I actually do the test of capturing the fuel and measuring the amount. I'm using this electronic, or it's electronic / pneumatic glue dispenser, and I'm only using the electronic part, not the pneumatic part. I went inside of it and tapped across the 12-volt solenoid inside that this controls, and I just brought the 12-volt out here to connect into my solenoids of the fuel injector. But I like this because it's very programmable. You can program how many pulses you want it to give every time you press the button. You can program how wide the pulses are, the duration of the pulses, and you can also program the interval between the pulses. And so I've got it set up to give me 4 pulses every time I push the button, and the pulses are going to be 0.08 seconds wide, and the interval is going to be 0.02 seconds between pulses. And so I'll go through and capture all the fuel from each one into these little vials here that I've got stacked up on top, right up here, numbered 1 through 8. And then I can compare those and see that they're outputting the correct amount of fuel. And so you can see this is the pressurized fuel coming in. This is the return line. I've got a pressure gauge on it as well. And so when I'm going to briefly run this pressure up past 60, just to make sure my gauge will read it. And then I'll know the fuel is actually through the regulator. And then I'll go through and pulse each one of these injectors one time to make sure that I'm purging these lines before I begin the test. And so I go up here, I've got the fuel line going way up here to the top there. I'm going to put a funnel up in there and pour the fuel down and fill this rubber hose up. And I'll probably have to do that twice. The first time it's just going to be purging the air, and then I'll top it off again and run my test. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is fill up this line with gasoline. Got some gasoline here. I don't think that's enough. I'll probably have to get more. I've got this little funnel here. I can just fit it onto that. And let's see if I can put some gas in this thing. Might take a while. The air's got to get past it. This hose here, got another regulator here. I got 0 pressure on it now. Okay. And so I'm going to slowly ramp up my pressure until I see some power on here. I'm also going to be checking to make sure I don't have any leaks. So right now I'm at 40. So when I hit 60, I should see something there. There it went. I got 60. I heard it. So now I'm hooked up to cylinder 3 injector. So I'll hook that on there and capture it. And my next one is 5. Right there. And the last one on this side is going to be number 7. Yeah, that first one sounded a little funny, like it had air in it. And so I'll show you while I'm changing it. You can have a look down in there. That's what it looks like. So these are the pins. And I am just putting on those, connecting to those pins there. So here comes the number 6. So I got a funnel. I'm gonna see if I can catch it. Let it drip into there. Here we go. Oh, hit the wrong button. I turned it off. Okay, now we're ready. I'm gonna hit this button. All right, I'm gonna let all that drip into there. So this is sample number 2. I'll close it. Give it a second to all drain in there. And so here's the vials from my fuel injection test. You can see I've got the 8 vials here, and they're numbered 1 through 8. And looking at the level in the fuel in vials, they all appear to be approximately the same. And that's what I was hoping to see. And I feel like the Spider injection system is okay. I don't see any glaring problem with it. So I am going to go ahead and install the intake on the engine over there, and then finish the assembly and put the engine in the truck.